I never thought I'd be the kind of man to plot revenge. My life was simple, anchored by love, routine, and the quiet comfort of family. My wife, Claire, and I had built something real over 12 years, 2 kids, a mortgage, and a rhythm that felt like home. She was the spark, the one who lit up rooms with her laugh, her quick wit, her ability to make everyone feel like they mattered. I was the steady one, the one who fixed the leaky faucet, coached our son's soccer team, and made sure our daughter's science projects were ready for the fair. We were a team, or so I thought. It was a Tuesday night, the kind of night where the air feels heavy with routine, when Claire sat me down at our kitchen table. The kids were asleep, the house quiet except for the hum of the fridge. Her eyes, usually so warm, were guarded, like she was hiding something sharp. She took a breath, her fingers twisting the edge of her sweater, and said the words that cracked my world open. "I want an open relationship." My stomach dropped. I laughed, thinking it was a joke, but her face didn't break. She meant it. She talked about freedom, about exploring herself, about how it wouldn't change us. But it already had. The woman I loved, the mother of my children, was asking for permission to step outside our vows. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just sat there, numb, as she explained her need for something more. More than me. More than us. I asked her if there was someone else. She hesitated just a flicker, but it was enough. Rose enough. Her eyes darted away, and she mumbled something about needing space to grow. I didn't push. Couldn't. I just nodded and said I'd think about it. But I wasn't thinking. I was breaking. That night, I lay awake, her words looping in my head. Open relationship. Freedom. Space. Each one felt like a blade. I thought of our kids, Ethan and Lily, asleep down the hall. I thought of the life we'd built, the promises we'd made. And I thought of the man she wouldn't name, the one I knew was already in her life. I could feel it, like a shadow creeping over everything I held dear. By morning, I wasn't the same man. Something cold had settled in me, a quiet rage I didn't recognize. I wasn't going to beg her to stay. I wasn't going to let her unravel our family without consequence. If Claire wanted freedom, I'd give her something else, and really a truth she couldn't ignore. I started watching her. It wasn't hard. She was careless, leaving her phone unlocked, her emails open. I found messages, flirty and intimate, with a man named David, a coworker, someone I'd met at her office Christmas party. All smiles and handshakes. The betrayal burned. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. I wanted her to feel the weight of her choices, to see them exposed in a way she couldn't deny. I began to plan. It wasn't about hurting her. Not at first. It was about justice. About making her see what she'd thrown away. I started small, gathering evidence, screenshots of texts, emails, even a photo of them at a cafe, her hand brushing his. I saved everything, building a case like a lawyer preparing for trial. But it wasn't enough. I wanted her to face it publicly, to feel the shame she'd inflicted on me. Our families were close. Our friends shared. We had a community, a life woven together. I'd use that. I'd make sure everyone knew. The annual neighborhood block party was coming up. A big event where our families, friends, and colleagues mingled. Claire loved it, always playing the perfect hostess, her charm on full display. This year, I'd turn it into something else. I'd make her see herself through everyone's eyes. The plan took shape in my mind, meticulous and deliberate. I'd create a presentation, a slideshow of her betrayal texts, emails, that damning photo projected on a screen for all to see. I'd do it at the party, in front of everyone who mattered to us. It wasn't just revenge. It was a reckoning. I spent weeks preparing, renting a projector, setting up a laptop, testing it in secret. I told myself it was for our kids, for the life we'd built. But deep down, I knew it was for me. I wanted her to hurt like I did. I wanted her to feel small, exposed, undone. The night before the party, I sat in my office, staring at the files on my laptop. My hands shook as I finalized the slides. Part of me screamed to stop, to talk to her, to save what was left. But the other part, the part that saw her smile at David's name on her phone, kept going. I didn't sleep. I just waited for the moment when everything would change. The morning of the block party dawned bright. The kind of crisp September day that made our neighborhood feel like a postcard. Kids ran through the streets. Balloons bobbed above tables laden with potluck dishes. And laughter carried on the breeze. Claire was in her element, flitting between guests, her smile radiant as she poured lemonade and hugged old friends. I watched her from across the lawn, my chest tight with a mix of love and loathing. She looked so at ease, so untouched by the storm she'd unleashed. David was there too, standing by the dessert table, his easy grin making my skin crawl. I nodded at him, keeping my face neutral. But inside, I was counting down the hours. The projector was hidden in the garage, the laptop tucked away in my bag. I'd set it up during the evening speeches, when everyone gathered for the annual neighborhood awards. It was the perfect moment, captive audience. No escape. I helped Ethan with his soccer game and braided Lily's hair for the kids' parade. My hands steady despite the chaos in my mind. Claire caught my eye once, her smile faltering, like she sensed something off. I smiled back, tight-lipped, and turned away. The day wore on, and as the sun dipped low, the crowd gathered around the makeshift stage. Our neighbor, Tom, was MC, cracking jokes as he handed out silly awards. Best garden, most creative mailbox. I volunteered to help with the tech, citing my knack for fixing things. No one questioned it. I set up the projector, connected my laptop, and tested the slides in my head. Each one was a dagger, a screenshot of her texting David. Miss you already. The cafe photo, her hand on his. I'd added captions. Cold and factual, Claire's new freedom. My heart pounded as Tom called me up to say a few words about the community. I took the mic, my voice steady, thanking everyone for coming. Then I said I had a special presentation, something to honor our family's journey. Claire looked puzzled but clapped along with the crowd. I clicked the first slide, and the screen lit up with her text messages, blown up for all to see. A gasp rippled through the crowd. Claire's face froze, her eyes wide with shock. I kept going, slide after slide, each one peeling back her secret life. Whispers grew louder, heads turned. David shifted, his face pale, as neighbors stared. Claire's mother, standing near the front, covered her mouth. My sister, Jen, grabbed my arm, hissing, "What are you doing?" I ignored her, my voice calm as I narrated. This is what Claire wanted. An open relationship. The words felt like ash in my mouth. But I didn't stop. Claire stood, trembling, her eyes locked on the screen. Then she ran, pushing through the crowd, tears streaming down her face. The projector hummed, the slides looping. I'd done it. She was crying in front of everyone, just as I'd planned. But as the crowd dispersed, some avoiding my gaze, others murmuring pity, I felt no victory. My kids were with my parents. Thank God. Spared from this. Jen dragged me aside, her voice low and furious. You didn't just hurt her. You hurt all of us. I didn't answer. Couldn't. The weight of what I'd done was settling in, heavy and cold. I'd wanted justice, but this felt like something else, something crueler. Claire didn't come home that night. She texted that she was staying with a friend. I sat alone in our living room, the silence deafening. The kids called, asking why Mommy was upset. I lied, said it was a misunderstanding. But Ethan's voice cracked, and Lily sniffled. I protected them from the scene, but not from the fallout. By morning, word had spread. Friends texted, some supportive, others distant. My boss called, saying Claire had taken a leave from work. David's name came up in whispers, his reputation tarnished too. I'd wanted them to feel my pain, and they did. But so did I. The house felt empty, the air thick with regret. I kept seeing her face, the moment she broke, the way she ran. I thought it would feel righteous, but it felt hollow. I started wondering what came next. Could we rebuild? Could I? The plan had worked, but it had cost me something I hadn't expected: my own sense of who I was. I wasn't the steady one anymore. I was something else, something I didn't like. I spent the next day cleaning up, avoiding calls, trying to explain to the kids without breaking them. Claire texted once, asking for space. I gave it to her, but I couldn't stop thinking about the line I'd crossed. Revenge wasn't what I'd imagined. It didn't heal me. It just left more pieces to pick up. The days after the block party blurred into a haze of regret and silence. Claire stayed away, crashing at her friend Sarah's place, leaving me to handle the kids and the wreckage I'd caused. Ethan asked questions I couldn't answer, his 11-year-old mind too sharp for my vague excuses. Lily clung to me, her 8-year-old heart sensing the fracture in our family without understanding why. I went through the motion school drop-offs, soccer practice, bedtime stories, but every quiet moment brought her face back. The way it crumpled under the projector's glare. I'd wanted her to feel my pain, but now I was drowning in it too. Our community buzzed with gossip. Neighbors avoided me at the grocery store, their eyes darting away like I was a stranger. My sister, Jen, called daily, her voice a mix of anger and worry. You didn't just humiliate her. You humiliated yourself, she said. I didn't argue. She was right. I turned our private pain into a public spectacle. And now I was the villain in half the stories being told. I tried reaching out to Claire, texting apologies, asking to talk. She responded once, "I can't look at you right now." Her words stung, but I deserved them. I kept replaying the moment I hit play on that slideshow. The crowd's gasps, her tears. I thought it would feel like justice, but it felt like betrayal of her, of us, of who I used to be. Work was no escape. My colleagues whispered, their glances heavy with judgment. Claire's leave of absence was the talk of her office. And since we worked in the same industry, the ripples reached me too. David had gone quiet, his LinkedIn profile suddenly private. I heard he'd left town for a family emergency. Good. Let him run. But running didn't erase what I'd done. I started seeing a therapist, a quiet woman named Dr. Ellis who listened more than she spoke. I told her about the slideshow, the texts, the photo. She asked why I chose that path, why I needed everyone to see. I didn't have a good answer. Anger, I said. Hurt. But it was more than that. It was fear of losing control, of being the fool. She didn't judge, just nodded, and asked me to sit with what I felt now. Regret, mostly, and shame. The kids kept me grounded. Ethan's soccer games were a distraction. Lily's art projects a reminder of what mattered. But they felt the absence of their mother, and I couldn't fill that void. I started digging into my own actions, trying to understand the man who'd planned that night. I wasn't cruel. Not usually. I was the guy who fixed things, who showed up. But Claire's request for an open relationship had broken something in me. Something I didn't know how to fix. I found her old journals in a drawer, pages filled with her handwriting. Dreams. Fears. One entry, from a year ago, talked about feeling trapped, like she was losing herself in motherhood and marriage. I hadn't seen it then. I wasn't sure I'd wanted to. Reading it now felt like a punch. Her words echoing the ones she'd spoken that night at the kitchen table. I'd ignored her truth, made it about me. A week after the party, Jen invited me to dinner. She sat me down, her husband keeping the kids busy in the next room. "You need to decide what you want," she said. "Not what you wanted that night, but now. Do you want your family back?" I did. I wanted Claire, the kids, the life we had. But I'd burned a bridge, and I didn't know if it could be rebuilt. Jen suggested couples counseling, said Claire might be open to it. I nodded, but doubt gnawed at me. What if she was done? What if I'd pushed her too far? I started small, leaving voicemails for Claire. Soft ones, saying I was sorry, that I wanted to understand. She didn't respond, but Sarah texted that Claire was reading them, listening. It was something. I clung to it. At night, I'd sit in the dark, the house too quiet, and think about redemption. Not just for Claire, but for me. I'd wanted to punish her, to make her feel small. But I'd made myself smaller. Dr. Ellis asked me to write a letter, not to send, but to process. I wrote to Claire, pouring out the hurt, the love, the regret. I didn't send it. It was for me, to face the man I'd become. I started noticing the kids' resilience, Ethan's focus on the field, Lily's quiet strength in her drawings. They were my anchor, my reason to keep going. I didn't know if Claire would come back, but I knew I had to change. Not for her, but for them. For me. 2 weeks after the block party, the silence in our house was suffocating. Claire was still at Sarah's, and the kids were starting to ask harder questions. Ethan caught me off guard one night, his voice sharp. "Did Mom do something bad?" I fumbled, saying it was complicated. Adult stuff. He didn't buy it. His eyes too much like Claire's, searching for truth. Lily was quieter, but her drawings had changeless color. More shadows. I hated what I'd done to them, even if they hadn't seen the slideshow. The ripple effect was real, and I was the stone that started it. I kept seeing Dr. Ellis, spilling my guilt in her quiet office. She pushed me to look at my anger, to trace it back. I told her about my dad, how he'd left when I was Ethan's age, how I swore I'd never break my family. Claire's request for an open relationship felt like she was breaking it instead, and I'd lashed out to take control. Dr. Ellis didn't let me off easy. "Control doesn't heal," she said. "Understanding might." I wasn't sure I could understand Claire. Not yet. But I was trying. I started noticing things I'd missed, how she'd been distant for months, how she'd stopped talking about her dreams. I'd been too busy being the steady one to see her drifting. One night, I found an old photo of us, laughing at a beach, the kids tiny and clinging to her legs. I wanted that back, but I didn't know if we could get there. Claire finally agreed to meet, but not at home. We met at a park, neutral ground, the kids with my parents. She looked tired, her eyes red-rimmed, her usual spark dimmed. I started to apologize, but she cut me off. "You didn't just hurt me," she said, her voice low. "You made it impossible for me to come back." I wanted to argue, to say she'd hurt me first, but I swallowed it. She wasn't wrong. I asked what she wanted now. She didn't know, just said she needed time. I nodded, my throat tight. It was the first time we'd talked without yelling, without running. It felt like a crack in the wall between us. I went home and wrote another letter to myself, like Dr. Ellis suggested. This one was about Claire, what I loved about her, what I'd ignored. Her strength, her laugh, the way she made our kids feel safe. I'd focused so much on her betrayal. I'd forgotten who she was. The next day, I volunteered at Ethan's soccer practice, trying to be present. One of the other dads, a friend, pulled me aside. "You okay?" he asked. I shrugged, said I was figuring it out. He didn't push, just clapped my shoulder. The community was starting to soften, or maybe I was imagining it. Either way, I was grateful. I started leaving small gestures for Claire, notes on her car, her favorite coffee delivered to Sarah's. Not to win her back, but to show I was trying. Sarah texted that Claire kept them, didn't throw them away. It was a sliver of hope, fragile but real. Therapy. Dr. Ellis asked about my endgame. Did I want revenge still? No, I said. I wanted my family, but I had to earn it, not demand it. I started reading about open relationships, trying to understand Claire's side. The books talked about trust, communication, things we'd let slip. I wasn't ready to agree to her request, But I was ready to listen. That was new. One night, Lily crawled into my lap, her sketchbook open to a drawing of our house. All of us standing outside. Even Claire. "When's Mommy coming home?" she asked. I hugged her. Said soon. Hoping it wasn't a lie. Ethan overheard. His eyes skeptical but softer than before. I realized they needed me to be better. Not just for Claire, but for them. I started fixing things around the house literally. The leaky faucet. A loose shelf. It was my way of grounding myself. Of proving I could still be the steady one. But I wasn't just fixing things for the kids or Claire. I was fixing me. The man who'd made that slideshow wasn't who I wanted to be. I didn't know if Claire would come back. But I knew I had to change. For my kids. For the chance at redemption. I owed them that much. A month after the block party. Life felt like walking on eggshells. Claire was still at Sarah's. But she'd started texting back. Short messages. Cautious but not cold. She agreed to meet again. This time at a coffee shop we used to love. I got there early. My hands sweaty. The weight of our last meeting still heavy. She walked in. Her hair pulled back. Her face guarded but softer than before. We ordered coffee. Sat in silence for a moment. I apologized again. Not for her choices but for mine. I wanted to hurt you. I admitted. I didn't think about what it would do to us all. She nodded. Her eyes on her cup. I wasn't trying to destroy us. She said. I just felt lost. It was the first time she'd opened up. And it hurt to hear. But it also felt like a door cracking open. We talked about the kids. About how Ethan was acting out at school. How Lily kept asking for her. Claire's voice broke when she mentioned them. I asked if she'd consider counseling together. She didn't say yes. But she didn't say no. It was progress. Back home, I kept up the routine: school, soccer, art projects. Ethan scored a goal at his game. And for a moment, his grin was all Claire. I texted her about it. And she replied with a heart emoji. Small. But it landed like a lifeline. I started noticing the kids' strength. How they leaned on each other. Lily drew a picture of us all at the park. And I hung it on the fridge. A reminder of what we could be. Therapy. Dr. Ellis pushed me to focus on my role in our drift. I'd been so caught up in being the provider. I'd missed Claire's need for more than stability. I started reading her journals again. Not to snoop but to understand. She'd written about wanting adventure. About feeling like she was disappearing. I hadn't seen it. And that was on me. I wrote another letter. This one to her. Not for sending but for clarity. I listed what I'd taken for granted: her laugh. Her dreams. Her strength. It helped me see her. Not just the betrayal. I started leaving more notes for her. Simple ones. I miss your coffee order. She didn't always respond. But when she did, it was kind. Sarah said Claire was thinking about coming home. But she was scared. I got it. I'd made her feel exposed. Unsafe. I had to rebuild trust. Not just demand it. Work was still tense. But I kept my head down. Focusing on projects. Avoiding gossip. David's name faded from conversations. And I heard he'd transferred to another city. I didn't care. My focus was on my family. Not him. I started talking to Jen more, leaning on her perspective. She was blunt. You both messed up. Fix it together or lose it all. She was right. Couldn't undo the slideshow. But I could show Claire I was different now. I signed up for a couples workshop. Not pushing Claire to join but leaving the door open. I told her about it over text. And she said she'd think about it. Another crack in the wall. One night, Ethan asked if we were getting divorced. My heart stopped. I said no. We were working on things. He nodded. Skeptical but hopeful. Lily overheard. Curled up next to me. And whispered, I want Mommy back. I promised I was trying. It wasn't enough. But it was true. I started fixing more than just the house. I worked on myself reading. Reflecting. Owning my mistakes. Dr. Ellis said redemption wasn't a moment but a process. I was starting to get that. I didn't want to be the man who'd humiliated his wife in front of everyone. I wanted to be the man who brought her home. Claire's texts grew longer. Less guarded. She mentioned missing the kids. Missing parts of us. I clung to that. Kept showing up notes. Coffee. Small gestures. I didn't know if we'd make it. But I knew I'd fight for it. For Ethan. For Lily. For the man I was trying to become. The slideshow was a scar. But scars fade. I had to believe we could too. 6 weeks after the block party. Claire came home. Not to stay, she said. But to see the kids. To talk. She walked in. Her suitcase small. Her eyes wary. Ethan tackled her with a hug. And Lily clung to her like she'd never let go. I stood back. Giving them space. My heart pounding. We sat at the kitchen table. The same one where she'd dropped her bombshell. This time, the air was different tense. But not broken. She thanked me for the notes. The coffee. It helped, she said. Her voice soft. I nodded. Afraid to hope too much. We talked about the kids first. Their routines. Their needs. Then I asked if she'd try the couples workshop. She hesitated. Then agreed. 1 session. To see. It was enough. The workshop was intense. A room full of strangers spilling their struggles. The facilitator had us write what we wanted from each other. I wrote trust. Honesty. Claire's paper was private. But she shared later connection. Understanding. Herself. We didn't fix everything that day. But we listened. It was a start. Back home. We set ground rules. No phones at dinner. No secrets. The kids noticed the shift. Ethan less sullen. Lily's drawings brighter. I kept seeing Dr. Ellis. Working on my anger. My need for control. She said I was rewriting my story. Not erasing it. I liked that. Claire started staying over a few nights a week. Testing the waters. We didn't talk about David. But I knew he was gone. A ghost we didn't need to name. I read more of her journals. With her permission now. They showed a woman searching. Not betraying. I'd misread her. And that stung. I started small gestures cooking her favorite meals. Leaving room for her to breathe. She noticed. Even smiled once. The old Claire peeking through. Work settled down. The gossip fading. I focused on my projects. Letting the past blur. Jen checked in. Less angry now. More hopeful. You're trying, she said. That's something. It was. The kids kept us grounded. Ethan asked us to watch his game together. And we did. Sitting close but not touching. Lily showed us a drawing of us all at the beach. Like the old photo. I hung it next to hers. Claire stayed longer each visit. Her suitcase still packed but less heavy. We talked more. Not just about the kids but about us, what we'd lost. What we wanted. She admitted she'd felt invisible. Like motherhood had swallowed her. I admitted I'd been too busy holding things together to see her. It wasn't easy. But it was honest. The workshop became a weekly thing. We learned to listen. To ask instead of assume. Claire said she didn't want an open relationship anymore. Just us. If we could rebuild. I wanted that too. I stopped writing letters to myself. Started talking to her instead. It was scarier. But realer. One night, Ethan caught us laughing in the kitchen. His eyes wide. Are you guys okay now? He asked. Claire looked at me. And I said, we're trying. He nodded. And Lily hugged us both. The slideshow felt like a lifetime ago. A mistake I couldn't undo but could learn from. I wasn't the man who'd planned it anymore. I was someone new. Someone trying to be better. Claire's hand brushed mine one evening. Not accidental. I didn't push. Just let it be. We were rebuilding. Not just for the kids but for us. Redemption wasn't a moment. Dr. Ellis was right. It was this small steps. Hard truths. And the hope we could be a family again. I didn't know if we'd get all the way back. But I knew we were moving. That was enough for now. 3 months after the block party. Our house felt alive again. Claire was back. Not just visiting but staying. Her suitcase unpacked in our closet. The kids noticed Versteethen's shoulders relaxed. Lily's drawings bursting with color. We weren't fixed. Not completely. But we were home. The couple's workshop had become our lifeline. A place to unravel the mess we'd made. We learned to talk without accusing. To hear without defending. Claire admitted she'd felt trapped. Not by me but by the life we'd built. Its demands swallowing her spark. I admitted I'd clung to control. Thinking it was love. We were both wrong. But we were learning. The kids kept us honest. Ethan asked one night if we'd stay together. Claire answered before I could. Her voice steady. We're here. Buddy. We're not going anywhere. Lily crawled into her lap. And I saw the family I'd almost lost. I stopped seeing Dr. Ellis alone. But we went together now. Peeling back layers of hurt. Claire's journals were open to me. Her words a map to who she was. I read about her dreams travel. Art. A life beyond dishes and carpools. I started planning a trip. Just us 4. To the beach in that old photo. She smiled when I suggested it. The first real smile in months. Work was steady again. The whispers gone. I heard David had settled in another state. Irrelevant now. Our community softened too. Neighbors greeting us without pity. Jen was our cheerleader. Hosting dinners to keep us connected. You're doing the work, she said. And I felt it. We weren't just patching things up. We were building something new. Claire started painting again. Her old passion flickering back. I hung her canvases in the living room, each one a piece of her I'd missed. I took up cooking, not just to help but to share something with her. We laughed one night over burnt pasta, and it felt like us again. The slideshow was a shadow, rarely mentioned but never forgotten. Claire brought it up once, her voice calm. "I hated you for it," she said. "But it woke me up." I nodded, the guilt still there but lighter. We were both waking up. Ethan's soccer games became our ritual, Claire and I cheering together, our hands brushing sometimes. Lily showed us her sketchbook, full of family portraits now. One had us all holding hands, and I choked up hanging it on the fridge. The workshop taught us to ask for what we needed. Claire wanted time to be herself. I wanted her to trust me again. We were trying, not just for the kids but for the us we could be. I stopped needing to fix everything, started listening instead. Claire noticed, her touch lingering when we passed in the kitchen. One evening, she kissed my cheek, soft and quick, like a promise. I didn't push, just held onto it. We were rebuilding trust, not control. The kids felt it too. Ethan less guarded. Lily singing again. Our house was loud with their voices, their laughter. Claire and I talked late into the night, not about the past but the future. She wanted to take an art class. I wanted us to renew our vows someday. Quietly. She didn't say yes, but her eyes said maybe. That was enough. I wasn't the man who'd made that slideshow. I was the man learning to love better, to see Claire for all she was. Redemption was slow, but it was real. Every conversation, every touch, every day we chose to stay. We were a family again. Not perfect, but whole. 6 months after the block party, our life felt like ours again. Claire was home, her paintings filling our walls, her laugh filling our evenings. Ethan was thriving on the soccer field, Lily's sketchbook a riot of color. We weren't the couple we'd been before, but we were something better, honest, open, scarred but stronger. The couple's workshop was still part of our routine, a space to keep us grounded. We'd learned to name our fears, our needs. Claire needed room to grow. I needed her trust. We gave each other both, piece by piece. The kids were our compass. Ethan asked one night if we'd ever fight like that again. Claire took his hand, said, "We'll fight, but we'll fix it together." Lily drew us at the beach, our trip now planned for summer. I booked the hotel. Claire picked the restaurants, and we both felt the thrill of starting over. The slideshow was a distant ache, a lesson we carried but didn't dwell on. Claire said once, over coffee, "It broke me, but it also broke us open." I agreed. It forced us to see each other, to choose each other again. Our community embraced us. The gossip long faded. Jen hosted a barbecue, and we laughed with neighbors like old times. Work was good. Claire back at her desk, me focused on mine. David was a memory, irrelevant to our now. We were building something new, not just repairing the old. Claire's art classes were her sanctuary. My cooking was mine. We shared them, her teaching me to sketch, me teaching her to grill. The kids joined in. Ethan's messy lines, Lily's careful ones. Our house was alive. Messy. Ours. One night, Claire suggested renewing our vows. Her idea this time. I froze, then nodded, my throat tight. Small, she said. Just us. I wanted that too. We planned it for the fall. A quiet promise under the trees in our backyard. The kids helped pick the music. Ethan insisting on something cheesy. Lily wanting her drawings as decor. We let them choose. They'd earned it. Dr. Ellis was right, redemption wasn't a moment. It was every day we showed up. Every truth we told. I wasn't the man who'd sought revenge. Who'd needed control. I was the man who listened. Who loved Claire for all she was, artist. Mother. Herself. She wasn't the woman who'd asked for an open relationship. She was the woman choosing us. Choosing home. The beach trip loomed. A symbol of our reset. We packed together. The kids piling suitcases by the door. Claire's hand found mine as we loaded the car. Her touch steady. Ethan and Lily sang in the back seat. Their voices our soundtrack. The slideshow was a scar. But scars tell stories. Ours was about breaking. Learning. Rebuilding. We weren't perfect. But we were whole. Justice wasn't the point anymore. Family was. Loyalty wasn't blind. It was earned. Redemption wasn't an end, it was us. Every day. Choosing to be better. I looked at Claire as we drove. Her profile soft in the dusk. She caught my eye. Smiled. We're okay, she said. I nodded. We were more than okay. We were us.